Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Bert's Bike. Today we're going over my friend Andrew's Harley Sportster. Let's check it out. Alright Andrew, so let's start off with why this bike. Tell us a little bit about yourself and like your riding history and how you end up with this bike now, because you've owned a few bikes before.
I have, yeah. I owned a Honda CB 200 in 1975. I had a Suzuki SV650. It was a 2002, I think, if I recall. And then this is a 2003 Sportster 1200 Custom 100th Anniversary Edition. So the story about this bike starts with my SV650. I had that for a couple of years, found out my wife was pregnant, and did what everyone does. I sold my motorcycle, but it's like I was meant to have another bike. I couldn't keep one away from me. When I went to sell my wife, let me start over, okay?
When I went to sell my wife.
Yeah, I went to sell my wife. So it starts out with my SV650. I found out that my wife was pregnant, so I decided to sell that bike. Sold it to a guy who had always wanted one, and he was really stoked. You know, I was sad to see it go, but I felt like it went to a really deserving person. I didn't have a bike for a little while. Then I found out that we needed a bigger car. That's what happens when you have kids. So I tried to sell my wife's Nissan Xterra, but nobody would buy it because it had like 265,000 miles on it.
That's a lot of miles.
It was kind of clapped out, and yeah, I couldn't get anyone to buy it. Lo and behold, I got a message on Facebook Marketplace one day from a guy with this motorcycle. Said, hey, I don't have any cash, but my truck just blew up and I need to haul tools to my job site. So will you trade a Harley Davidson for your Nissan? And I said,
heck yeah.
Heck yeah, yeah,
heck yeah.
Of course. So it was Providence that I got another motorcycle. Apparently I'm just meant to have them. Oh. Even when they try to kill me.
So let's talk about this particular bike. Tell us exactly what it is. Everybody knows it's a Sportster, but there's something special about this bike.
This is a 2003 100th Anniversary Edition, 1200 Custom. It's kind of the top of the line for Sportsters.
So, like all Sportsters, none of them are really just bone stock, right?
That's right.
So why don't we start from the front and work our way to the back and see what you've done, or how it was when you got it, or what isn't stock and what is stock.
First off, I've got turn signal relocations. Normally these are going to be on the bottom of your bars. I had those put down there and kind of pinched in. It's like
it's hooked up to the...
Yeah, and the little pinch bolt there.
Did you do that, or did that come that way?
My favorite shop, Blue Ribbon Cycles, they moved to freaking Idaho or something. They're gone now. They were an amazing shop. I'm sure if you're out there, you should go see them. But they did that for me, relocated it, did a whole bunch of... I did install chrome levers.
These are nice. These are my favorite grips.
Yes, the Vans grips, love them, highly recommend them. They look good, they feel good, they're inexpensive. I've got a TC Bros aluminum throttle tube, which I just installed, and that's a lot nicer than the stock plastic tube. A lot longer lasting as well.
So did you do anything to the airbox here?
It's a stock airbox. I was told that the mounts actually are for a Screaming Eagle setup. Okay. Yeah, I guess the last guy might have switched some stuff out and just threw that back on there.
Did the custom models come with forwards?
They come with forwards,
okay.
Yeah. And those are pretty desirable for a lot of riders. They're more expensive typically if you try and buy them on the aftermarket. I will say, I'm probably going to go with some mids at some point, just for rideability. The forwards are nice just for like cruising around, but the kind of riding I like to do requires a bit more of an active stance. So I may go with some mids in the near future.
That's awesome. But you already got some drag bars here to go,
yep,
go with that.
And the drag bars, these came stock in 2003.
That's an interesting setup. Usually with forward controls, you get the sort of mini apes or whatever.
That's right. Yeah, a lot of times you do. And there are some versions of this that come with that, like slightly lower. But this one came with the drag bars.
What year is this again?
2003.
2003. So, man, like the thing about Harley that you really notice when you look at them is just everything is just super solid.
It is very solid.
Like, even the switch housings are metal.
And
you know?
I put that to the test. We can talk about that later.
Oh,
But
okay.
I can say from experience that it is an incredibly solid motorcycle.
Okay, so did you do anything to the shocks? I mean, these, compared to the bikes that me and some of your guys that we ride with, these are pretty short. Were these changed out?
I don't know. I think that they're stock, but I am not sure. I've thought about putting coilovers on it at some point, probably will. But this is what was on it when I bought the motorcycle.
Okay, and then moving back, we got the sissy bar, which you're utilizing.
Yes.
Which is awesome.
I like the sissy bar. It's pretty versatile for large packs if you want to carry a lot of stuff for like a weekend or even a week. But then you can throw some. This is a 25-liter dry bag I've got, and just real basic stuff, rain suit, toolkit, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, these dry bags are super cool because usually cruiser luggage isn't really waterproof. And I'm not sure why that is, because you're going like thousands of miles, the way they advertise the cruiser lifestyle. And it's like, it's gonna rain at some point.
Right.
So that's awesome that you're using these dry bags. To me, that's a sign of somebody who actually rides.
Right, yeah. Not really interested in just the nice weather. Motorcycling is about experiencing the world. And the world is not always sunshine.
Not always quiet either.
A lot about this motorcycle is stock.
And is this seat, it looks super comfortable, is it?
Not as comfortable as you would think. It's pretty good for around town, but I think there was one day I put in about 8 hours in the saddle, and by the end of that, it was very painful.
None.
So I would love to upgrade to a saddleman at some point.
So the last thing I'm seeing on this bike that's just different are these slip-ons, or is this a full system?
Those are slip-ons, Screaming Eagle 2s. It's the stock upper pipes, but I put those Screaming Eagle 2s on about a week and a half ago.
Did you not like the old pipes, or?
Well, the old pipes looked kind of ratty after I dumped it on the tail of the Dragon.
You did what? I was there.
You were there. We have the footage. I was kind of forced to upgrade after I slid across the line at the tail of the Dragon on the first turn.
What happened exactly?
Well, I was following my buddy Andre, and he is pretty awesome and took the turn like a champ. And I was like, I'm cool too. So I took the turn probably about 25, 30 miles per hour, grabbed my peg.
And it was a what, a 10 or 15?
It was probably 10 or 15.
10 or 15.
Grabbed my peg, rear tire grabbed the center yellow, and I slid across like a doofus.
And then I remember when you picked up the bike, the oil cap was in the middle of the road, so
right, yeah.
when the bike fell over, all the oil pressure went forward and this shot out.
Yeah, up to 2003, they incorporated just a stopper, and it's just a friction. Now, 2004 and on, there's a little depressible lock-in cap.
And it will stay there.
And it'll stay in, but the old school one, you know, just the pressure and the momentum and the physics of it popped this thing
right
out,
up.
and I was dumping oil everywhere. So I had to kick dirt all over the road, and then we limped it back to the Harley store just a few miles before us.
And they carried oil.
They carried oil, so we filled it back up. Took a minute to kind of get the adrenaline down, make sure everything was relatively okay. I think I broke my finger, but that's probably about it.
We're glad you're here with us still.
And we went back and rode the tail of the Dragon after all that.
With half a brake lever.
Yes, my brake lever
that's
was
why
broken
this is
in
different.
half. So that's why I've got new chrome brake levers, because I broke it off. So
It's like a real big testament to Harley Davidson. It's like you literally low-sided the bike, and you managed to pick it up, put some oil in it, and ride it hundreds more miles.
it was fine. Yeah, we rode the whole tail of the Dragon, rode out the Cherahela Skyway, did the whole thing in a day, and at the end of the day, the bike really didn't fare too badly. It was scratched up a little bit, but nothing bent. Besides the brake lever, nothing broken, except for my pride, probably my finger. But otherwise, I was like, dude, any other bike just about probably would have gotten thrashed.
Yeah.
Maybe wouldn't have been rideable. So
Yeah.
kudos to the solid American steel.
Well, the only other thing I'm seeing here that I don't see on like a lot of maybe, I guess not really new Sportsters because the design hasn't really changed in a while, but this kind of crossover pipe, is that right?
Yeah, I think that's pretty common for the Sportsters.
For the older ones?
For the older ones, yeah. I see.
And this is a carb.
It is a
covered.
carb bike. It's the last. I think it's the last year of the carb bikes. I know at least it's the last year of the solid mount. So 2004 they went to a rubber mount design, which is a little bit more comfortable for the rider, but this is a lot more old school 2003, bolted directly to the frame, and you feel every single repetition.
So, for those of you watching the channel, you know that I owned a Roadster way back when. If you want to figure out what happened with that, check out that video. But mine was a rubber-mounted Sportster, and really, when you get going on the Sportster, though, all that shakiness kind of disappears. But it's when you're stopped at
Right.
a light that you really feel it kind of moving
Yeah.
back and forth. And mine did it a lot, and that's the rubber-mounted version. So I could only imagine.
It shakes your bones.
But I noticed something on this particular bike that is very different from newer Sportsters, and this is a carbureted model. So I noticed that the sound
Oh yeah.
is very different from the EFI Sportster.
Yeah.
And the way it idles, that sort of really potato-y kind of sound that everybody says potato.
Yeah, it's definitely more of an old school sound. Yeah, the carbureted bikes are not quite as refined, obviously.
But you get that really lazy at idle, that
Yeah.
really
Yeah, and it also depends on how the carb's tuned. You know, I just put on new pipes, and so I'm still working on tuning the carb a little bit. But yeah, old school. It's finicky, but it's fun.
All right, well, let's crank this thing up and hear it.
All right, man. And that's my 2003 Sportster 1200 Custom.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. It's Bert's Bike, and we'll catch you on the next one.